Hello and welcome back to the Packaging Europe podcast. I'm your host today, Victoria Hattersley, and for today's episode, I'm delighted to speak with Vanessa Chesnot, who, for those of you who don't know, is Head of Public Affairs and Product Policy at our friends FEVE, the European Container Glass Federation. Now, as we all probably know, Europe's glass industry is actively working towards the goal of achieving net zero emissions by 2050. And its strategies are heavily focused on both decarbonising production and circularity. Today, we're going to be looking at these ambitions through the lens of the PPWR and also other related legislation. And Vanessa is going to be kindly talking me through how the glass sector is responding to these new regulatory challenges. So a warm welcome, Vanessa. Perhaps you could start by briefly introducing yourself and your role within FEVE.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Good morning or afternoon to the audience. So I'm Vanessa Chesnot. I'm Head of Public Affairs and Product Policy at FEVE. So that means that I have two roles. One is to follow legislation related to the placing on the market of glass packaging and its end of life. So I followed very much discussions around the packaging waste regulation, of course. And my second role is also to coordinate our multi-stakeholder initiative, Close the Glass Loop, which brings together the glass packaging value chain, so glass manufacturers, recyclers, brands, extended producer responsibility schemes, municipalities, with the common objective of reaching a 90% collection rate by 2030 across Europe.
Wonderful, thank you. And yes, I should say to our listeners, Close the Glass Loop is a really interesting initiative, and we have lots about that on our website, so you should check that out. Lovely, thank you for that. So moving on to the topic at hand today, what would you say are the top kind of 3 to 4 key EU policy trends that are really impacting the container glass industry?
Well, there are many developments impacting the EU industry, but what is striking at the moment is the shift from the commission's agenda. So basically, what we had under the previous mandate was very much focused on the Green Deal. So really leading the EU as a sustainability leader. So a lot of discussion on sustainability requirements, sustainability targets, which is still the case today with the new Commission's mandate, but there is a better recognition of the need to accompany these sustainability requirements with more focus on competitiveness of the industry. And that's something that is very important for us. So to give you an example, the Commission came up with the Clean Industrial Deal, which is really an attempt to combine industrial competitiveness with decarbonization. And it includes measures to reduce energy costs, facilitate long-term renewable purchase agreements, unlock new sources for financing industrial decarbonization, accelerating permitting. So it's quite a comprehensive set of measures that will have to be deployed around in the next years. And for us, for an industry such as glass packaging manufacturing, these measures are central to enabling breakthrough furnace technologies, for example, that run on renewable energy. So the focus on competitiveness and enabling decarbonization is very important for us. So that would be the first trend. The second one is linked to that, is really the simplification push. So again, with that agenda strongly focusing on competitiveness and reducing red tape, the Commission is proposing a number of so-called omnibus packages to streamline rules and reporting for already adopted legislation. So the objective is really simplifying legislation, cutting red tape, etc. So that's something that is very trendy in Brussels right now. And the last trend, I would say, still very part of glass DNA, is the circular economy. So, of course, we all know about the packaging and packaging waste regulation, which will be directly applicable across all EU member states as of next year. So, comprehensive requirements on recyclability, packaging minimization, reused labels, hazardous substances, etc. But that's not the end of the story, because in the coming years, the Commission will adopt implementing legislation which will be critical to ensure uniform application across the EU. So that will be key for us. And also something new that is in the pipeline is the Circular Economy Act that we expect in 2026 that aims to create stronger markets for high quality secondary raw material and simplify requirements on waste. So that's something that we are also very much following and contributing to.
And so for the Circular Economy Act, what are the sort of specific implications for the glass sector that you're kind of really anticipating from this?
For the moment, it's not entirely clear because we are at a very early stage of the process. So the
Yeah.
Commission launched a consultation. We have a couple of months to contribute as a stakeholder. So what I can say about it is that it's expected to introduce measures to improve the internal market for circular products, secondary raw materials, foster the supply of high quality secondary raw materials, stimulate demand for those secondary materials and circular products. So here, for example, there could be taxation incentives, for example, or incentives via public procurement. And it also aims to incentivize separate collection and diversion from landfill. So all these topics are relevant for glass packaging, but it's not yet very clear how far it will go on packaging, given that we just closed the discussions on the packaging and packaging waste regulation. That being said, we see a number of areas for improvement in terms of legislation supporting further the circularity of glass. So that can be in relation to extended producer responsibility schemes, for example. So ensuring that the EU-wide minimum requirements are strengthened and enforced. What we also promote is the concept of permanent materials. So that these are the materials that can be recycled over and over again without losing their quality. So that's the case of glass, but that's also aluminium and steel. And finally, we still push for targets on separate collection for glass across Europe. So we would love to have a 90% collection target to trigger investment in the collection infrastructure, and at the end of the day, ensure that we can increase the uptake of recycled content in our furnaces.
Do you think the investment in the collection infrastructure for glass specifically is still kind of lagging quite far behind how it needs to be?
I wouldn't say lagging behind, because if we look at the EU average, 80.8% of glass packaging placed on the market is collected to be recycled. So that's already a very high performance. But then if you look at the details per country, indeed, there can be very striking differences across Europe, with some countries already reaching 90% collection, while others are well below around 60 or 55. So what we say that indeed we know what works, because some countries have already achieved very high performance. So we need to make sure that in the countries lagging behind, there is the necessary investment to ensure that there is the collection infrastructure, that there are communications campaigns to consumers to tell them how to sort their waste, but also how important it is to recycle their glass, because of course recycling has major benefits for the environment, to reduce climate emissions, etc., etc. So, and that's precisely the objective of Close the Glass Loop, to identify the best practices on certain areas and discuss how they can be replicated or adapted to improve the circularity of glass across Europe.
Great, thank you. And I just wanted to circle back to you mentioned extended producer responsibility. Am I kind of right in thinking that in general that the glass sector kind of sees the benefits of EPR as being higher than, for example, deposit return schemes for glass anyway?
Yes, exactly. We are very much supportive of collection via municipal waste infrastructure. So that can
Mm.
be bottle banks in particular, or in some countries, door-to-door systems. And the reason for that is is a wonderful material in the sense that we don't need to have a separate waste stream for food grade materials and non-food grade materials. So you can put your bottle of wine together with your flacon of perfume in the same bottle bank, and it will be recycled back into glass packaging without any issue. So what can make sense for plastic, for example, for PET, where there is a need for this separate waste stream for food grade materials, that is not needed for glass. And actually, as glass is a bulky material, it makes more sense from an economic perspective to collect everything together. So that's on the principle. And then in terms of performance, when you look at the collection rate in countries with a DRS or without a DRS, what we can see is that some countries achieve very high collection rates without a deposit return scheme. So that's the case, for example, in Italy or in Belgium or in Sweden. So you don't need a DRS to achieve 90% collection target. On the other hand, if you do have a DRS, which focuses on certain specific products, generally it's beer, soft drinks, and mineral water, you still need a collection system to collect other glass products. So food jars, for example, or spirits, wines, perfumes, etc. So you still need to invest in the EPR scheme to ensure that at the end of the day, all glass packaging is collected. Because what matters to us is not for specific products to be collected, but all of them. And that is what will really ensure that we have high collection and recycling rate at national level and at EU level at the end of the day.
Brilliant. Thank you for clarifying that. I know it's very much an ongoing debate, but it's an interesting one, I think, for most of our audience. Okay, so we've talked about how the key policy trends that you've mentioned are going to help the industry meet its targets, but are there any aspects of the regulations that the glass industry might take issue with, like over reliance on weight as a metric for sustainability, for example?
Yes, so if we focus specifically on packaging waste regulation, which is we fully supported and fully support the objective of the regulation. There are a number of issues that are quite relevant to us. So the first one being recyclability. That's a very important topic, and we see that the EU has taken a significant step towards ensuring that only packaging that is recyclable can be placed on the EU market. So that's very important. As we just discussed, glass packaging is already a European recycling success story, with an EU average recycling rate already above 75%. And most of that goes back to glass packaging. So the closed loop recycling is a reality for glass packaging. So that's very important. We see also the push towards reuse for beverage packaging. Glass is naturally well suited to reuse. It's been a reality for decades, for beer, for soft drinks, for mineral water, and bottles can be refilled up to 50 times while maintaining product quality. And the last maybe topic that is very relevant in PPWR is packaging minimization. So really a push for packaging to be reduced in terms of weight and volume. However, we have some concerns about these requirements because we believe that the product presentation functionality of packaging is not sufficiently recognized in the text, and that creates serious threats for products relying heavily on design as a way to convey brand equity, cultural identity, and at the end of the day, appeal to consumers. So that's a real worry for us. And that, back to your point, this illustrates the risk of focusing too narrowly on weight as a sustainability metric, while ignoring other critical factors such as what we said before, recyclability, reuse, and design as well. Because packaging is much more than weight, and we also need to look at food safety and other elements. So it's not because you shift to lighter materials that you necessarily improve the sustainability globally.
Yeah, that was another question I was going to ask you about the safety aspect. Do you think that's always considered enough when we're looking at all the different factors we need to bear in mind in terms of building a more sustainable value chain?
Yes, definitely. Glass is inert or virtually
Mm.
inert. So that means that there is no migration between the glass packaging and the product it contains, and vice versa. And we believe that it's a key criteria for products, especially for food and beverages. So we see with the PPWR that there are some provisions related to hazardous substances. There is at EU level another piece of legislation on food contact materials, but we believe we should further discuss all those issues. And the fact that now there are reuse targets on the table, that should also trigger this kind of discussions to make sure that when a container is refilled, washed at high temperature, etc., 10 or 20 times or even more for glass, it's still safe for consumers. So that I think will be a key topic in the years to come for single-use packaging, but also for reuse products as they become more widespread across Europe.
Yeah, and indeed we are kind of expecting that reuse will now become more widespread after kind of years of it not really being taken up in the way that people had hoped. So that's a really important factor, I think, to bear in mind. Okay. Um, apart from, for example, the Circular Economy Act, which you've already alluded to, are there any other regulatory developments, difficult word to say apparently, on the horizon that may also affect your sector in any significant way that our listeners might perhaps not be aware of?
Well, I think yes, the clean industrial deals, or the deployment of the clean industrial deal, will be very important for us, because we or our members have engaged in a massive transformation to reduce CO2 emissions and environmental impact. So our members are committed to climate neutrality by 2050, and that requires really huge investment to decarbonize. So last year, we published a very interesting report, if I may say, that really shows with more than 90 industry case studies from all across Europe, concrete initiatives that our members are taking to cut on carbon emissions. So that includes breakthrough in furnace technologies, so basically switching from natural gas to electric or hybrid furnaces, greater integration of recycled glass, lightweighting, or optimizing transport systems. So our members are very much committed, and a lot is really happening. But for this transition to happen, we need clear and supportive policies. So I will focus a little bit on energy now, but that's really key for us. We need sufficient low carbon energy sources available at affordable price, because of
Of
course this
course.
technologies needs to be competitive. We need major investment in grids and infrastructure to transport this energy. We need also to have funding at EU or at national level to cover the higher capex and opex of low carbon manufacturing techniques. Electricity is much more expensive than gas, so really shifting has a cost. And what we said before, we also need to make sure that the local glass collection infrastructure is functioning well so that we can put more recycled glass into our packaging. So that's really key for us, and we hope that the implementation of the Clean Industrial Deal will provide those enabling conditions. And then, of course, PPWR, there are many implementing measures that needs to be adopted on reuse, on recyclability, design for recycling criteria, on labeling, on hazardous substances. So there is really a lot in the pipeline, and we really need to remain focused on that, because that will be really a determining factor in ensuring the success of the regulation.
Lovely, thank you. That's really interesting to know. And and finally, I think just as a way to nicely round off our discussion, I wanted to ask, when you look ahead, what gives you confidence, if indeed you do have confidence, that the industry can deliver for Europe's ambitions, for both brands and for consumers?
We are quite confident. I am quite confident because glass has many assets. Glass is intrinsically circular. It's a permanent material. It can be recycled back into the closed loop, so glass bottle to glass bottle. It's also ideally suited for reuse in a safe manner while maintaining taste and quality. It's safe and trusted by consumers thanks to its inertness. It's also a material that convey brand identity, appeal to consumers. It's basically a beautiful material and beautiful packaging. And also where the challenge may lie, it's really decarbonization. But as I mentioned, our members are really committed and investing massively in breakthrough technologies to massively reduce CO2 emissions and increase the uptake of cullet. And also we are working with our customers and with the full glass packaging value chain to improve, and for example, to work via close the glass loop to improve the collection rate. So all of this, the intrinsic properties of glass, plus the commitments of our members, plus the cooperation with the value chain and the consumers, make me pretty confident for the future.
Excellent. That's good to hear. Thank you, Vanessa. I think that's a really nice point to leave things on. But of course, if our listeners want to know more about this topic and the other ways in which the glass industry is working to meet its targets, then do come along to the dedicated session on this at the Sustainable Packaging Summit, which is taking place from the 10th to 12th of November in Utrecht. It's a really, we think, a unique chance for networking and both knowledge gathering and sharing. There is also a report on this topic on the membership section of our website. We spoke to FEVE for this, but also various stakeholders, so that's also worth checking out as kind of preparation for our dedicated session at the summit. So with all that said, thank you so much, Vanessa, and I look forward to seeing you in November.
Thank you. Looking forward.
Thank you. It's been a great chat. And thank you everyone for listening, and take care. Goodbye.